Hey guys, welcome back to Ours Yard Jen. I'm so glad you're here. Honk honk, everyone. Guys, this is the episode I have been so excited for you to see. I'm so excited to have a very special guest here with me. Okay, so as you know, I finished with Love Meghan. A lot of you commented on how I lost my mind throughout. You're right, I did. Um, can you blame me? Sheesh. I'm so glad I made it through that thing. Okay. But this is what I've been dying to do. So I have a good friend. He's Chef Matt, and I have been dying to pick his brain on all of this. And so, guess what? Not only did he watch all the episodes and go through and look at everything she cooked throughout, my goodness, he agreed to take my questions and sit down and really talk through the stuff with me. So I am so thankful to you, Chef Matt. If you're watching, thank you so much. You're wonderful. Guys, he really is. He's such a nice guy, and he's really, really talented, really talented. He won't tell you that, but I'm telling you that. Really talented chef. And he's very fair in the way he explains things. So he has no skin in this game. He is not looking just to criticize Meghan. He does a great job of explaining why things didn't make sense and what was wrong with certain things, and really took time to expound upon a lot of the things so many of us were feeling. So I'm excited for you to see this. Again, thank you, Matt, for taking your time, and Chef Matt for answering our questions and being just generally wonderful. So he had asked, I gave him the choice, and he chose he did not want to be on camera. I respect that and I understand that. So you'll just hear his voice, but you'll see me asking the questions and nodding right along, and so that's how this will go. And he does not have social media or anything. So he asks not to have any kind of plugs. So we're going to leave him be. But again, thank you, Chef Matt, for taking your time and answering all of our questions. And I do want to give a shout out as well to Chef Matt's family for being wonderful as well, and kind of helping set things up behind the scenes, arranging times, things like that. Thank you, Chef Matt family. And also thank you to John Witherspoon. I keep shouting him out because he's so much fun. We've been working on another collab behind the scenes, but I had asked for just some help with some of the questions because John's also been watching the show. So I thought, okay, he'd have an interesting point of view on some of the questions for, specifically for a chef and food related questions. And he did a great job. So thank you, John Witherspoon, for your contribution to this episode. Now let's go right on in and meet Chef Matt. He really is the nicest. I can't wait for you to hear his thoughts on all this and hear us get to laughing about some of the craziness that happens on the show. So without further ado, here we go. So I would like to welcome my friend, Chef Matt. Chef Matt, thank you so much for being here with us today.
It's a pleasure. I'm glad to be here.
Okay, we're going to get into some of the questions. You're going to notice I'm wearing earphones, not something I usually do on these videos, but parts of this are done on my phone talking to Chef Matt. It was easier for me to hear that way. So that's why you'll see that kind of pop in and out some of the time. So Chef Matt, as we get into this, I know you're trying to stay, off radar. I get it. No problem. Can you just tell us a little bit, without giving specifics of locations or anything, about your experience as being a chef?
I've got 23 years experience working in the UK in restaurants, hotels. I've got quite a varied career working with different cuisines.
Matt, if you don't mind, just so we can get to know you better, do you have like a favorite dish you like to make? I'd just like to know that. Do you have a favorite dish?
I think my favorite food, it all depends on the seasons.
Okay.
There's such wonderful seasons, especially in the UK, and it's like the food, it completely changes, and it's like you get excited every time a new season comes. And you've got autumn and you've got winter, and you're talking about slow braising and your long cooks and casseroles and stews. And I think there's something so magical about that, because it's so hearty, and it's so warming, isn't it? And it almost heals your soul while you're eating it.
Yeah.
And then you've got the other side of the coin, where it's like the weather's glorious and everything new's coming up out of the ground, and you create these really simple, quick dishes that just blow your mind because they're absolutely packed with flavor.
So what were your just initial overall thoughts on With Love Meghan? Thank you again for watching that.
I was genuinely hoping that it was going to be better than what it was. I thought that there was going to be recipes and it was going to be more of a cooking show where it was going to be a little bit more in depth, or we would at least receive quantities and measurements.
I know, I'm blown away by that. We'll get into that, but because I have questions about that, but I cannot believe, I don't know what this was. You're right. There were no recipes, no quantities. It doesn't make any sense at all. You're right. What are your thoughts on those dried flowers that she sprinkled on every dish?
I honestly, I don't get it. I don't get that floral aspect of anything that she's doing. But people do use flowers in the right context or in the right way. Like from a UK standpoint, like there are certain places out there, or in certain ways, that you would use maybe a fresh flower because there's something beautiful about a fresh flower, right? You know, especially if it's in season, and it can look very, very elegant and very pretty on the plate. From a flavour point of view, they add a certain bitterness to everything, but then when you dehydrate and you dry out something, you're intensifying that flavour to the point where it can spoil what you're consuming. And to scatter it around the way that it was scattered, or the way that I've seen it being scattered, you can just imagine, even if the food that you was eating was okay and you was enjoying it, every now and again you'd get this floral hit that you didn't, that your palate could almost not understand. And it works with certain things, but in the same respect, it's used so freely that you can see a lot of the food that's being garnished with it would almost spoil, because especially when it's dried in that manner, because it will go very, very bitter, and it will be so floral that it will spoil. And it's like if you eat raw garlic, if you have too much raw garlic, it gets onto your palate, and your taste buds, it can't recognize anything else after that. And I think it's overused, but I think it's almost like a gimmick. Somebody that I used to work with years ago when I was training, they always said, if you're confident about the quality of the food that you're creating, and you know that the ingredients are good, don't think that you have to hide your food by garnishing it, because you should be proud of what you've created. You should be excited for people to see your creation and not hide it behind a great deal of garnish. And that's something that I've done all of my career, where whatever I do, I use garnish as a minimum, because that 9 times out of 10, and from a restaurant point of view, the garnish is pushed to the side of the plate, and then people will continue to eat. So I just don't. I don't think it's relevant.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
It surprised me actually when I was watching the shortbread biscuits, the way that was done, because I've seen other recipes. I've never done it personally, but I've seen recipes where they flavored the shortbread with flower petals, or they might have used rosemary, but they've actually incorporated it into the dough, whereas this was almost like around the outside of it.
Yeah, I noticed the same. Yeah,
but
it's more of a decoration.
From a shortbread point of view, you would always bake a shortbread, and then what we would do is, once it comes out of the oven, while it's hot and it's bubbling, we call it dredging. And dredging is when you dredge it with caster sugar or refined sugar. And the idea is that the dough is hot, and the raw caster sugar sits and almost adheres to the shortbread, which gives you that nice sweet flavor when you bite into it. But it was decorated with dried flowers, so it almost, those flowers that were just like stuck to the outside of it raw. Like it just, technically, there's a lot wrong there.
I think that could pretty much cover the whole show. Technically, there's a lot wrong there. Let's see. Another question I had for you is, of any of the items that she created, did you notice? So I'm noticing a theme where things just seem outdated. Did you get that sense with her dishes. Was that a factor for you, or is that something you paid attention to?
Crudity.
Crudity.
Yeah, yeah. That seems to be a very popular thing, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
There seems, yeah. I mean, there's something really good about taking something that's an outdated thing and bringing it into the modern day of life. And it's even like a quiche. If you can do something absolutely incredible with a quiche, so be it. Let's go. But everything seemed to be almost too simple or not thought about enough. There wasn't enough creation with the things that we were watching. It was sad.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, when you watch, and some of it was actually quite sad to watch because it, like, even down to the fruit rainbow, that's the kind of thing that you would do with your children to occupy them and to get them to understand that eating fresh fruit and vegetables is really important to their diet, and it gives them a good ethos as they're growing older. But it's not something that you would make that kind of song and dance about. You know, you'd probably give them a plastic knife and say, you know, let's cut some strawberries. We're gonna do something amazing. That's the way I kind of looked at that.
Yeah, I think so too. I think you're spot on. And then let's see, was there anything that struck you as creative about her dishes? Did you find any of them creative, or are you in the same? I just had trouble with the lack of creativity, and I was wondering, as a chef, if that was something you picked up on as well.
It's definitely something I picked up on because, like you said just now, the dishes were very, very simplistic, and they were very outdated. It would have been wonderful to see, for instance, the quiche. You know, if we'd have put some garlic maybe, or some rosemary and some thyme through that shortbread before it got baked, just so you got some color contrast on the actual pastry when it came out of the oven, and while you was eating it, it would have given an amazing profile, and it would have added to the flavor. But there just didn't seem to be anything. It was like everything was very outdated. It was poorly executed, but there wasn't anything that made you think, oh, what a great idea, I've never thought of that. Or as a home cook that's feeding a family, there was nothing that would inspire you to say, do you know what, that is a fantastic idea. I'm going to try and recreate that because I think my family would love it.
You're exactly right. Yeah.
Tomato quiche. Tomato quiche.
Like my grandmother would have made that. I don't understand.
Yeah, but then the thing that made me laugh, and I think I actually laughed out loud. More like a heckle than a laugh. But it was like, right, we was bringing this quiche out of the oven that was stone cold, and then I think Meghan made a comment about, oh, you know, this is the part where I'm normally really worried that it's not going to be cooked, but then we cut into it, and then we're, oh, we love it, Ronnie. And it was like, think about what you're doing. Think about what you're saying. You know, if you brought it out of the oven and went, oh, I really hope it's runny, then it would make sense. But then to say, oh, I'm worried that it might be undercooked, and then when you slice into it, you go, oh, fuck, I've messed up here. Oh, I love it when it's runny. And I was just like, what you doing? What you doing? But then there's so many things that's wrong with it when you break it down, because you look and you go, heirloom tomatoes are literally, like, I think there's something like 80% water. So if you're raw tomatoes into something that's already liquid, and when those raw tomatoes start reaching a temperature, they're gonna start to lose their liquid, and that liquid's gonna go into their quiche mix. And you look and you go, why haven't you thought about that? You know, why is there nobody there that said, let's use sun-dried tomatoes because they've already got a lot of their moisture taken away, or let's use a base of something, build it up, and then we'll use some tomatoes to almost sit on the top of it, so you can see it. And you can see these wonderful heirloom tomatoes.
I can't make sense out of any of it. I try, but I can't. And it leads me to wonder if she was just a nightmare on set, and they're like, okay, we're doing it your way then. You know, I don't know.
That's what I was thinking, because there's for that investment that Netflix made, and you look and you go, there's got to have been enough people on that set where they had a professional chef or
Mhm.
they had somebody that knew about the laws of food hygiene, that
Yeah.
to almost keep walking around and almost go, no, don't put the chicken next to the lettuce in the fridge, because it's a bit of a no-no. And I understand that it's a set, and you can see every single time they open the fridge, it was set out so beautifully.
Yeah.
And we all know at home in our fridges aren't a display piece, you
No.
know. But you could see that these fridges were displays. But
Mhm.
somebody must have thought, maybe not, maybe not. But that nobody seemed to speak up about it,
Yeah.
or they did speak up about it and they got ignored. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
like, tie your hair back, take your jewelry off. There's
Yes.
so,
Oh.
there's so many little things that you just go, and it's like, if there must have been somebody there that said, realistically, when you're handling food, you shouldn't have that much jewelry on, or
Mhm.
maybe you should tie your hair back.
Mhm.
But I started analyzing it, and I was hoping that I was going to be able to see it, and I was really sort of looking at the food that was, because I was hoping I'd find an hair, and
Mhm.
I could go, ha, told you so. But it just never happened. So
Uh-huh.
there can't have been anybody there checking the food or checking the fridges, but there must have been somebody there removing the
Yeah.
hair.
Well, I do have you may not have found hair in the food, but I'm glad you mentioned this because we found hair in the food right there. And excuse me for being crass, but all I could say is hair and tits, hair and tits. It's just boobs and hair and food. So I ask you, Chef Matt, in the places where you've made food, is this a priority to put hair and boobs in food?
we 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 strongly advise against it.
Oh,
Like,
okay. Oh, I've been
it's
doing it wrong. Okay, fine.
I'm quite strict about it. So, like, from my point of view, especially from a professional point of view, it's a legal requirement as far as I'm concerned. So it's like any chef, regardless, if you've got long hair, you tie it up. If you know you remove jewelry, you don't wear bracelets. Yeah. And there's so many things technically that you look and you go, why has that been allowed? And I know it's a program and I know it's a family thing, but I genuinely thought I was signing up to watch a cookery program.
Mhm.
But it became very apparent to me very, very quickly that it was a Meghan lifestyle program. It wasn't anything else, because it was all about, there was no substance to it, was there?
Yeah.
It was an extravagant show of wealth, or
Mhm.
it was just being a little bit pretentious. But it was okay. It was okay because I can. And it was that kind of thing for me.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And I'm glad you're bringing that stuff up because my other question in regard to that is, I noticed exactly what you said, the food safety, the handling, the fingers, the jewelry, all of it really grossed me out. Her clothing in the kitchen was so bizarre to me. And yes, I love to talk about she's in beige all the time, but beyond that, just did that just irk you
It,
again as a chef?
there was
Like,
a, there was a, there was a
uh,
couple of there was a couple of things there for me, because it was like,
yeah.
I found the constant music. I found that to be a bit of a distraction. But then
Oh,
it was like, we we swapped and changed so often. So it was like, oh, I'm going to make avocado and toast. Now I need to get changed, and I'm going to get changed, and then I'm going to come back, and I'm going to be completely wearing something different. But then not only that, I'm going to be in a completely different kitchen, and I'm going to start dehydrating fruit. And now I'm going to go back into my main kitchen, but I'm going to get changed again. And it was so mind-boggling to me. But then you almost look and you go, she's a very busy woman, right? So she will literally, that day of filming, she'll have dehydrated fruit, and then it'll have been, we're done for the day, and then you go back and you go, right, today, now I'm going to go and make a rainbow, and then I'm
yeah.
done for the day. You can see that it almost looked like that to me. Like, it wasn't a full day's filming. It was, today I'm doing this, tomorrow I'm doing that, tomorrow I'm doing that, and every single time we saw something new, it was a new
Mhm.
day.
I think you're right. Yeah, they're not known for their work ethic, so that would make sense.
Oh no, no, no.
But the other thing, though, in terms of outfit is just how it sounds silly, but how loose fitting her clothing were. And again, I'm just not good at the cooking and stuff. It's just not my thing. But as a chef, I would think your first thought is, food safety, not dragging your sleeves in food, not cooking yourself on a stove and a loose, like a blousey shirt.
To be fair, the chef's uniform, it's there to protect us as chefs because we're working in such a hot, volatile environment. So you're absolutely right. Like, an apron is there to protect us and our bodies from the heat, from the hot oil, from the exposure to what we're dealing with. But even from a home cook point of view, if I'm going to go and make dinner for my family, I roll my sleeves up. Yeah. And it's like, yes, I won't go and get a wardrobe change, but I'll address what I'm wearing, because you're absolutely right. I mean, some of the stuff that and how loose the clothes were, it was more about fashion than practicality.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're exactly right. I think so too. And I just want, I think about that in terms of how it would affect if you're presenting yourself as somebody, maybe not a chef, but a home cook even. It kind of is, it flies in the face of all that is my.
Especially when you're feeding people that aren't immediate family. It's like if when you're just feeding the immediate family and it's a quick dinner, you might roll your sleeves up and you might make it very quickly, and it might be a very tasty meal, but it's on the go because we live busy lives and we've got busy schedules. When you're feeding guests, or when you're feeding family, family that you've not seen for a while, or close friends, you generally put a little bit more care into it, and you almost try that a little bit harder. You put that little bit more effort in, and I suppose to a certain degree you want them to be impressed.
Yes.
You want them to leave happy, and it's that happy thing, isn't it? Of I want this to be perfect. I'm going to tie my hair up. I'm going to roll my sleeves up. I'm going to take this seriously because I don't want to fail. I don't want to look silly in front of my friends. That's and right. I want them to leave content and happy and think that I've done a good job.
Mm-hmm. No, I totally agree with you completely. And let's get meta for a second and say, and there's a Netflix crew there. So or a TV crew there. You're going to take 10 extra steps. She just didn't. I think she's just more interested in how she looked than how anything else looked. I just can't imagine.
The whole show for me was like that. It was more about learning about Meghan than it was learning about anything else. It seemed to me where everything else was a backseat to that. I think so. I would have been so happy to sit down and watch something that was a serious program where even down to some of the things that she made, technically would have been okay, but there was no recipe. It wasn't like a lot of it. It was just, I'm going to make this, but I'm not going to tell you how. Or even down to the shortbread biscuits. Shortbread biscuits, amazing thing. And there's so many really good recipes out there. And one of my favorite recipes actually, it includes using cornstarch, which is quite unique because as a general rule, there's only 3 ingredients to shortbread biscuits. And it's flour, sugar, and butter. That's it. But to actually tell somebody that, or to actually tell them, to make 24 biscuits, you need this amount of flour, this amount of sugar, and this amount of butter. And it's such a simple thing to actually tell somebody and instruct them. But then it's like, oh, I made this yesterday, but you can buy it from the store, and you just look and you go, did you actually make it yesterday? Exactly. Or is there somebody behind the scenes making it? Because I just don't believe that she made it yesterday. And if we've been filming day on day on day on day, we would have seen you make it yesterday because we watched yesterday's and it wasn't there.
You're right. I think you're right. Yes, they're not known for being the most honest people.
What was the those little dumplings that they made in
Hot
one of.
stickers.
Yeah. I mean, I thought that was great because I genuinely, I think heritage with food is massively important,
Yes.
and it's the way I've got my knowledge base is quite large, and one of the ways that I retain my knowledge is because of the history. So I really thought that when that's first started, and there was talking, and then she brought this old-fashioned book out. And this book, you know, you could see it being through the walls, and you could see that it was a book that had been used on a regular basis because it was a little bit tattered. And I love that. But then, like, Meghan grabbed it and just started like going through the pages like it was nothing. And you could see the history there. But then there was this handwritten note with all of the ingredients and all of the steps and the instructions. And it had been written by a child, and I just thought, how sweet! That's amazing. Heritage, that's family history that's been passed down from generation. And then we started to make it, and then it was like, oh, you know, we haven't made the pastry, and you just go, why? I thought I was watching a cooking program. So the only thing that you could interest me with this recipe is that, because you've said you can fill it with anything. They literally said you can put anything you want in this. So that, if I know that I can put anything that I want in it, I'm cool with that. The only thing that you could have taught me was, how do I create those sheets?
Yes,
And
exactly.
it was like, oh, we can't be bothered. And you go, why can't you be bothered? Because that's what you're getting paid for right now. You should be bothered. Why aren't you bothered? Because I'm bothered watching it.
That's exactly it. Because otherwise, who's it for? Because chefs are going to be able to make this. I can't make this. And if I see something that looks good, what am I supposed to do? My assumption is she's never on top of things timeline wise. So I wonder if she's going to try to roll out a cookbook. And so she's being vague on purpose. But again, if you have a cooking show, I'm not watching you to say, okay, make this. You know, I need you to walk me through what I'm doing here. You know?
I think you're absolutely right. I do believe, and it might not be from this series, but I believe that there's another series coming out, and I believe that series will be exactly the same. But I think after I don't think 8 episodes is enough for a cookbook, but I think 2 series. That would then suggest to me that there will be a cookbook. But it's like, I'll go back to the music. The music just seems to be constant.
Yeah.
And it's like you can almost see like a little CD coming out, or a little download, can't you? Where you can download it for when you're in the kitchen cooking with Meghan, and you just like. But one of the things that made me laugh about the music was right towards the end when Harry came on, and there was playing this music, and it was quite loud. And then I don't know if you noticed it, but the music went really, really quiet, and it went right down. And Harry went, "I'm so proud of you," and then it went back up, and it was just like. But it must have only been for like 4 seconds. And he gave her a hug, and he brought her in close, and he almost whispered it. But it was like Meghan went, "You've got to put that in," because he's happy. He's happy. He thinks I've done a good job. But it was like that's such a small amount. And it was like the music was quite loud. 4 seconds. I'm so happy. I'm so proud. And then it went back up. And it just seems so weird.
Well, I have a theory on that, and that is that she's not. I mean, it's the most obvious theory in the world, but she's just not good at this. So they need things. They need shtick like music and those blurry edges on the screen and things dancing around to try to make you think you're seeing something better than you are. Again, as a chef, if you have your own show, and my takeaway from your show is, yeah, the music was pretty good, then I'm probably you might need to rethink your chefing career.
I think I've been trying to rethink my chefing career now anyway. Because I think if I realised it was that easy to make a cooking program, I think I would have. I genuinely thought you had to put a little bit more effort into it. So maybe I've been holding myself back for too long.
You already have way more personality than her. I don't know you to wear a ton of beige. That you're doing everything wrong, Chef Matt. Now your wife loves beige, from what I understand.
I need to think of like a creative name for it, don't I? Like average, you know,
Yeah.
like do something along those lines.
Just call it meh.
Yeah, yeah.
And then just have huge salt and pepper shakers on the table, just big ones, so that way people can just over season and complain. Yeah, that sounds
Just
fun.
absolutely everywhere.
And dried flowers, just buckets of
Dried flowers, absolutely everywhere.
Yes. And just call it meh. So, Chef Matt, something that right off the bat, the first episode after, I believe it was after she made the bath salts, which is funny that that's her first recipe. But she went into the bees of it all, and that seemed to be a big thing for her. So you've had the chance to work with bees. What were your general thoughts on that scene with her and the bees? I don't know much, but I was reacting to it, so I'm sure you had some reactions.
When I first saw it, and I saw the buzzing bees around the hives, and I was like, oh, like this is actually going to be quite interesting. And then we went over, and it started literally straight away, didn't it? And we've got this pristine bee suit that's never seen a bee in its life, and we've never worn it, and there's creases down the sleeves. But then we come out with one of the very first things that we come out with is, I haven't been here for a while, and you go, you've not been there at all. And if you have, you've certainly not been wearing that. And
Exactly.
but then it started, and it, like, where my experience with bees, and it's like the beekeeper, he'd treat the bees with such a huge amount of respect,
Mm-hmm.
and he'd be so gentle and so careful with the way that he brought out the racks. And like he'd very delicately just scrape off ever such a small amount of the wax, and every little honeycomb, it's got this honey in, but it's like they seal it up when it's full, and they seal it with the wax, and it's there as a preserve to almost protect that natural golden beautiful substance. And it ever so slightly just shave the very top of this wax off, and then he'd put it into a drum, and he'd spin the drum, and the rack would spin ever so fast, and all of the honey would expel to the outside of this drum, and then it would run down into a well, and then there'd be a tap in it, and then we'd jar it up. And that's respect, isn't it? But then I watched, and it was just hacking away at this, and it just seemed to be so wasteful and so disrespectful to something that's so pure and so genuine. It really upset me, because I just thought, why have you done that? Why have you started like this? Because you've already put a bad taste in my mouth because of the way that you've done it. But then later on down the line, it transpires that there's a purpose behind it, because we've been so brutal, because all we wanted to be able to make a candle.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
you almost lose the ethos behind it, don't you? Of the purity behind having a hive, taking care of it, looking after the bees, because they're going to look after you, and they're going to give you their nectar. And we haven't done that. We didn't even expel the honey correctly, So, and it just seems to be a very wasteful way of starting the very first series of
whatever the show was. Yeah.
Yeah, it just seems to be like a poor way of doing it.
I think so too. And you're much better at this than I am. So for me to notice that something was off, there's something off. She just grabbed that wooden spoon and just started.
Yeah.
And I just thought, well, I wonder why. And maybe he was instructed not to. But I wonder why the beekeeper just didn't. That would be a perfect opportunity. Again, if I'm in your kitchen with you and I'm doing something wrong, that's the perfect opportunity. Yeah, you don't want to be a jerk about it, but you could say, hey, Jen, let me show you. There's maybe a better way to do this. Hey, Megan, let me show you. But I'm thinking she would never tolerate that.
Do you almost feel like the lie had already started?
Yes.
So we put his bee suit on, and then one of the very first things that we came out was, I haven't been here for a while, or I normally do this. But then because we'd played along with that once she started, he almost felt, well, I can't. We're rolling. I can't correct it now because it's like we're there, and you could almost feel it. You could feel it, because if he is a beekeeper, he's got a passion for what he does.
That's it.
He's got a love, and there's an art to what he's doing.
That's
and
right.
I think that's important. And you could almost feel his soul crushing a little bit when she was doing it. But you'd feel better if there was an explanation behind it. So when she was hacking away at it, she could have explained it, and she could have said, we're doing this because we want the wax, because we want to make candles. But if we was only coming today for the honey, we wouldn't do this. We would do it in a different manner. And then that would reassure people, or it would make people understand that there's a process behind everything.
No, you're absolutely right. That's it. That's exactly it. And I think you make such a good point. It basically set the tone for the show because it was one of the early scenes in the whole series.
I think it was the very first bit, wasn't it?
I can't remember if it was that or if it was the bath salts, whichever it was. Yeah.
There was bees flying around. And
That's true. Yeah.
Taking the pollen from the flowers, and you thought, oh, well, this is nice. And then car crash.
Yes. That's right. But there's just so many things wrong, from the way she disrespected the bees themselves, to the whole, the whole process, to she disrespected the uniform. That was something, again, she did that with the cooking as well, but just just tight jeans, with, and I don't think they wear those outfits for funsies. I think it's protection, just as a chef, as you said, you would wear an apron to protect yourself.
I think there's a massive difference between the people that have been disappointed by watching this, the people that genuinely thought that it was going to be useful, or that they would be able to learn something. And I think that people that haven't been disappointed by it are the people that just wanted to watch that kind of program,
I think,
where you get to see a luxury lifestyle, or you get to see somebody that's relatively famous, that's got quite a lot of money, that like, there are people out there that do enjoy that, and I get it, but it's not what we signed up for. It's not what I believe that the show was advertised as.
No, I don't think so either. Yeah,
where the disappointment comes.
I think you're right, and it makes me ask, just overall, who is this for?
Exactly.
Who is this for?
There's something nice about it, isn't there? And it's like, if you're an everyday guy and you go out to work and you work hard and you don't earn a great deal of money, but you want the best for yourself and you want the best for the family, to be able to relate to somebody that's famous, that's very wealthy, and to almost be able to think to yourself that you can eat in a very similar way to them, and financially afford to be able to do it, and you're almost taking a little bit of a snippet of his very luxurious lifestyle, and it almost comforts you in a way, doesn't it?
It does. Yeah, I think you're right. I think you're spot on.
And we could have done that if we'd have had recipes to follow. It was like a cup of this, a dash of that, and close your eyes, hope for the best.
That's it. Exactly. Yeah. Just, yeah. Oh, even when they spilled the oil, that, again, the lady that was making the pot stickers, because I paid close attention, she spilled oil into the bowl. And it's fine. It was an accident. The top, I don't know if you remember, the top of the bottle popped off. And instead of, that would have been Meghan's chance to maybe say, okay, well, let's correct this. This is how you do this. This happens. Here's what you do. Nope. She said, well, that looks to be about 2 tablespoons to me.
Yeah. I'm genuinely hoping that at some point we will see a cookbook, but I'm genuinely hoping that we call it Bodger and Scarpa, because if we called it Bodger and Scarpa, I think that it stand more of a chance of being a success, because then you're being very clear of what to expect from buying it, because it was like whatever happened, we were just going to accept. And you look and you go, you've had all day to do this, you've had months of planning and organization. how did it get to that point, and why didn't anybody go, do you know what, well, let's just send the team in, we'll clean down and we'll start again, because that looks not quite right.
That's exactly it. That's it. I think she's more, again, she goes for the overall look of things rather than the how it actually tastes or looks. I mean, how it actually presents or tastes.
It's style over
So,
substance, isn't it? Style over
yeah,
every single time.
yes,
And then we'll sprinkle some dried flowers over it.
that's
They
it.
taste great.
Yeah. As a chef, do you find yourself just emptying that bottle into your mouth? Is that just like
Yeah, yeah,
you come home from a long day of cooking, you're like, I don't feel like cooking. I'm just gonna have some dried flowers.
yeah.
Next time your kid says, Dad, I'm hungry, just hand him a bowl of dried flowers.
Who's got time for that? Like, who's got time for that?
That's what it said
But
throughout.
that's one of the things that I was thinking about, and I started thinking about it after I'd watched all of it. And most successful cooking programs, and most people that go onto TV that have got an audience that will want to watch and learn from them and see their recipes, most of nearly everything that I can think of, they're all everybody uses like an ethos, don't they, of we're going to do this, but we're going to make sure that everything that we use on our show is something that you can readily buy from the supermarket.
Yes.
And it's not something that's difficult to get hold of. But there were so many instances, and you look and you go, yeah, online ordering is a thing, but you don't want to wait. And you couldn't go to the shop and go, right, I'm going to recreate that, and I'm going to buy that and that. Where excuse me, where are your dried flowers?
Exactly.
You just couldn't do it. You just couldn't do it. And
No,
it's
not
that,
at all.
and that's what makes things like this successful, because it makes an everyday person feel like that's an achievable task. But not only is it achievable, but it's easy to achieve.
Yes. Yep, that's exactly it. Yep.
Yeah,
That's
but buy 500 grams of like dried flowers just to give something a go. It just don't work for me.
no, who's got the time, the money, the patience, the want to add dried flowers to things?
Yeah, and by the time Amazon's delivered to them, you're bored of the idea and you've moved on.
Exactly. That's right. Exactly. You're right. Can't make sense out of it all. But to your point, usually people come with some sort of like ethos or shtick or however you want to say it, some sort of point of view. And Megan just doesn't seem to have that. It just, even with a team of people, I can't.
It's like the one pot spaghetti, isn't it? And you're looking like, what, all of you, everybody that was involved in that show, why didn't anybody go, are you sure that's the right pasta to do that kind of thing with?
Yeah,
Because
no.
you even look at for something as simple as like mac and cheese. There's a reason behind everything. And macaroni, it's designed to have a hole through the middle, so it'll absorb the sauce and it'll hold onto it, so that it locks it in, so that every time you take a spoonful, you're almost getting this cheesy release. And it's like, out of all of the pasta shapes, and there's hundreds to choose from, and they've all got this history and this heritage behind them, and you go, what made you pick that? And then later on you use rigatoni, and you go, rigatoni would have been better than spaghetti.
Yeah, absolutely. And it would have made it a little bit different, a little bit special, a little bit, I can't make sense out of it. I really don't know. I don't think she can either. I really don't. I think she just gets stuck on the idea, okay, one pot, here you go, everybody will love it. And it's like, no.
But then you look at how simple it is to make pasta, and you say, all you need is some 00 flour and a couple of eggs. And we know that we've got eggs because we've seen a lot of eggs and we've seen a lot of chickens. So we know that's something but then that would link in, right? Because we've got these chickens. So we've got these chickens and everything links in. So you go, right, we're going to go and get some eggs, and we're going to make some pasta, and we're only going to use egg yolk pasta because we want it to be really rich and indulgent, but we're not going to use the white. But what we are going to do is we're going to save the whites, because we're going to use the whites later on. And then when you come to do your salt baked fish, you've got your egg whites. and everything ties in. And then you've got this whole thing of being careful of your food waste and protecting it. So you've produced your own egg, you've made some homemade pasta, you've then made a salt baked fish, and you've then composted your eggshell. And everything ties in, and there's this beautiful marriage. And then you go, do you know what? That actually makes sense. And
You're so right.
you've used everything. You've used every part of it, and there's a reason behind it. But you've explained it, and it's so simple, isn't it? Make some pasta, roll it out, cut it into any shape you want. You've got your sauce rolling over on the stove. It takes 3 minutes to cook fresh pasta. We're done. No nonsense, no water, nothing. And it would have tasted amazing.
You're right. And I'm so glad you brought that up, because that's something you really, you and I had communicated about offline is the waste. It really bothered me. And I'm sure as a chef, it really bothered you. Can you speak to, I mean, you basically just did, but were there more thoughts on the waste? The thing that comes to my mind was the sandwiches. I don't need my kid to eat something in a heart shape and then to get rid of 3/4 of the bread just so she can have a heart-shaped sandwich. She needs to just eat a sandwich,
Waste is a big thing for all of us right now, isn't it? Because everyone's suffering, and everyone's struggling with money, and energy bills are going through the roof, and you've got all of these things that are going on in the world that makes it turmoil. And waste is a big thing, and it impacts all of us. And we've only got a certain amount of money to spend on food and groceries, and we're all hit with it. And like even myself, I've got to look at the way that I cook food and the way that I produce food, and to minimize on that waste, because it's not a luxury anymore, and everything week on week, all the prices are going up on a regular basis. So you have to think smart, and you're looking, you go, right, I'm gonna save all of these trimmings, and then you look at, again, you go back to the one pot spaghetti. If we'd have started that with homemade vegetable stock, and then throughout the episodes, we was learning and saying, top and tail your carrots, because, and then save them, and then make a stock. Peel peel the outer leaves off the onions and the shallots, and all of the little bits that you've got from your fresh herbs and your garlic. Save them, and over a period of a few days, you've got enough to create a really magical stock that could be frozen. And then when you come to these little one pot wonders, which I think are a great idea for people that are busy, when you come to execute it, you're not boiling a kettle and boiling water straight into these ingredients. You're adding depth of character, and you're saying, I made this stock, and I'm going to use this. And just imagine the flavor profile behind that. Imagine how beautiful it would taste. But then throughout the episode, she keeps talking about the love, and people seeing the love, and them seeing that she cares. But then you look and you go, that's true love, isn't it? That's true love, because that's a deep-seated passion. And it's like your ethos is that you make a stock, and whether it, even down to the chicken that we cooked, that could have been a great, save the bones, boil it up, you've got chicken broth. And that is a really good base. And then later in the episode, you then use it, and it's like, it's the planning and the organization, and having somebody as a professional to go, this is the way that I operate, this is the way that I work. I would use that, and I would utilize that, and I would show that this is important to you.
It wouldn't have been difficult for her to do. It would have shown a thoughtfulness that just was lacking. And I think that's irresponsible of her. And again, you and I, we both have children about the same age, and one of the things is teaching our kids not to waste. So as she likes to say, I'm a mother, over and over, that would have been an easy lesson. She just doesn't think about things like that. I'm surprised nobody at Netflix thought about things like that.
The sandwich thing that you were speaking about earlier, you can almost find that offensive, can't you? Because, and I touched on it earlier on, but I do believe that the way that we bring our children up and the way that we feed our children is massively important to the way that they look at food and the way that they respect food and their understanding of cooking fresh and using fresh local ingredients. And I support all of those things. But when you live that lifestyle and it's like money is no object and there's no repercussions to your actions. And I think that's important, isn't it? And it's like you're teaching them that it's irrelevant. You're teaching them that the waste is irrelevant. If you want your sandwich to be in the shape of a dinosaur, so be it. But what we could have done is we could have said we're going to stamp out the shapes. We're going to set the oven to 80 degrees. We're going to bake them on a tray with nothing on them for about an hour and a half to 2 hours. And then we're going to turn the oven off. We're going to leave it overnight. And tomorrow we're going to put it through the food processor. And you've made your own breadcrumbs.
Brilliant.
We're going to store that in a mason jar. And the next time you want breaded chicken or chicken goujons or whatever it is that you fancy, or even a little bit of fish, breaded fish, you've got that and you've made it and it's not cost you anything. And then we produce zero waste.
That's right.
You could have cut up the crust, you could have lightly oiled it, lightly seasoned it, put it in your oven, and you could have made little breadsticks.
Yeah.
With a little bit of hummus, and you've got a great little snack. And whether you used it for the actual party that you was having, or whether that was just a thing while you was watching TV on a night, you've got a great little snack to nibble on. But we didn't do any of those things. But the thing that I found most offensive was we almost spread the filling onto the sandwiches and then cut it out, and it was like the filling. You could argue and you could say, well, bread isn't expensive. Bread doesn't cost a great deal of money. And you could say, when you equate it, like it might be 4 pence a slice of bread, so no big drama. But then you look at the fillings and you go, why don't you cut out the shapes, make the breadcrumbs, and then you put the filling on?
That's right.
And you've ticked all of the boxes. You've made your children very happy. They think it's funny. Everyone's giggling. Everyone's happy. And you've got all of these extra things that you could do that will all store in your cupboards, store in your pantry, and you've got it whenever you want it.
And as a busy mom with not a ton to spend to time or money to spend on things like that, I would have appreciated knowing that. I didn't think about it until you said it. They totally missed it. You make such a good point.
All they've done is they've alienated the working man, and they've almost made it look, and you go, I'm not doing that. I can't afford that. I've got my son's birthday is coming up, and there's 40 people coming.
Yeah.
That's a huge amount of waste, huge implications, and it's those things, isn't it? So it's almost like we're living in a fairy tale, because that's not the way that the common person would conduct themselves. But what I remember, I'm sure you do, but it's like, when I was growing up, your parents would go, make sure you eat your crust.
That's right.
And I used to always I used to eat my crust first to get it out and enjoy the sandwich. And it was that, wasn't it? But then it's like, it makes you appreciate food as a young person. It made me appreciate food, and it made me understand food, and it made me understand the value of food.
What do you think it would be like cooking for Meghan? Do you think that she would send her stuff back? Do you think she'd complain a lot? Do you think that she'd make you do all the work and then she'd say she cooked it? What sarcastic answers work? What do you think? We're just guessing.
I think in that context, I don't know if you noticed it and you picked up on it or not, but I mean, everyone just seemed so overexcited, didn't they? So it was like we put lettuce in his mouth and we went, oh, wow, that's absolutely amazing. And you just go like, really? How good is that lettuce? But everything, no matter which episode you watch, everyone just goes so excited about absolutely everything that she was producing. And you can see that would be a real confidence boost for her. But I guarantee you, if she, as a paying customer, I bet she would be nothing but a pain in the ass.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. I think so.
Like you'd have to bring out the special plates, wouldn't you?
Yes.
You bring out the special plates.
Even if they're not, you just have to tell her they're special. Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah.
This is the Meghan special. Wow. Yeah. Oh gosh. Was there anything that she made that you would actually serve that you can think of off the top of your head, or
If
no?
are we talking? Is there anything that she made that if it was made properly, I would put on a menu?
However you choose to answer that. So if you want to do it, absolutely. Is there anything as is that you would serve? Whatever you,
There was
what
out
does
of
your gut tell you?
everything that I saw her create, there was only a couple of things that I thought, I wonder what that would taste like. Everything else, I don't think I would try. Like everything just seemed to be a little bit. There was everything seemed very anemic, and like I can't see that it would interest me. There was nothing that I saw that would excite me, but there were
Yeah.
certain things that I saw that I just thought if that was made well, that would be amazing. You know, like the lemon and honey cake, for instance.
Okay.
Lemon and honey cake is amazing, and I mean that zingy sweet flavor is absolutely fantastic, and I can get really excited about it. And by putting extra virgin olive oil into a cake, what you're looking for is you're looking to retain the moisture content. So, and it's really important. So you get a very juicy, and it tastes absolutely amazing. So from that point of view, I would definitely put that on my menu if I made it properly and if I used a really good recipe. But even that, when I was watching it and I was thinking, why have you made it like that? You know, why haven't you used a whisk? If you're going to make it by hand, I don't understand why there's certain things that we did by hand and there's certain things that we use machines for. Then, like whenever you make a sponge cake, you're looking to add volume, you're looking to add air. And it's the air that almost helps give it the rise when you bake it. But then we used a spatula. But then it was like when we was pouring it into the molds, you could almost see the lumps. And I was just, but then when it came out of the oven, again, it was very beige. There wasn't a great deal of color to it. But it didn't seem to rise. It didn't seem to get any higher. But then when she started to slice it to flatten the top of it, you could almost see how dense it was. And a sponge, especially a sponge that's got extra virgin olive oil, it should be so moist. It should almost be a little bit sticky, like a little bit gooey.
That's what I think too. Yeah, just a little residue on your hands. Yeah.
Yeah. But it just didn't seem to happen, did it? But then we've seen that we've got a food processor. We've seen that we've got an immersion blender. We've seen that we've got this very luxurious kitchen. And you just look and you go, that would have been a great thing if you'd have used a machine. Because I mean, even from a professional point of view, like we've got machines that's one of the things, that's one of the privileges of what I do. You know, it's like because the volumes the volumes of food that I make, I've got machines that will help me. But what it does do is it gives me consistency of product. So I know that every single time I make it, it's the same consistency because it's beat at the same speed. It's on the machine for the same amount of time.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, it just jumped into my head too. I don't remember which episode. She used her hand as a strainer. That grossed me out so bad. The lemon.
I saw that. Yeah,
she's like, here we go.
I think that was when we made carrot pesto, wasn't it?
Maybe so. I can't even remember. I was just like, what?
I think we made carrot pesto, and I think it was then.
Yeah, perhaps. I don't know. It was just, but it's again, I think that's symptom of the bigger issue is the whole show. It can't not decide what it wants to be. So she can't decide, am I using machinery or am I straining this by hand? Do we have tools or not have tools?
The way that I saw it was that she was almost lost for things to do.
Yeah.
So she almost wanted to say, there's not a great deal going on right now, so I'm going to chop some garlic really badly, or there's not a great deal going on now, so I'm going to do this, and it almost seemed like that because but then if would have the show, I mean, she could have weighed out the ingredients, she could have poured it into the mixer, and she could have explained the method and the reasoning behind it, but everything was pre-done. and it was just tip, 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 mix up, tip into it, and it was like there's not enough substance to anything to make you want to carry on watching it. But not only that, but to make you want to eat what's coming out of the ovens.
You're right. You're exactly right. And you're right. And the lack of substance, my thought on that was I have a child. I know you have a child. They're about the same age. The things she would do on screen are things I would let my child do, minus chopping vegetables. You know what I mean? Just things that you just give them to keep them busy while you're trying to get the real work done.
That's exactly it, and it goes back to what I was saying earlier about giving children a good start and involving children in the creativity of food, but explaining to them why it's important to eat fruit and vegetables, and to get them involved so that they're happy and hopefully that will grow into adulthood where they've got a really good palate for food and they use fresh food and they cook properly at home every day, and that's the ideal, isn't it? You know, you're wanting to start your children off young and you're wanting to get them involved so that later on in life that they've got a good palate and they understand food and they're not scared of food.
Exactly. And they look for rainbows of color, not rainbows of dumb fruit on trays for no reason. Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly. It's just, there's no substance behind it. It's just.
What would you be most likely to serve of hers if you had to pick? And what would you be least likely to serve if you can remember things that she made?
I would probably go for the salt baked fish.
Okay.
I would maybe go for the lemon and honey cake. I did like the little dumplings.
I did too. The pot stickers. I thought those looked good. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, like again, if that had been a little bit more exciting and there'd have been a little bit more to it, it might have been something that I'd try at home. But then you look and you go, there now from watching it, the only thing that I would probably do is again involve my son and we'd make them together. And yeah, I might buy some store-bought sheets.
Yeah.
Because I know that pretty much whatever's in my fridge, I can use.
That's a good one to I just on a side note, that's what I do with my kid is that's a good way to trick her into eating vegetables that she'll normally scoff at. You hide them and things like that. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I did find it quite interesting that they made I think they called it a slurry.
Yes, the milky substance to make it crisp up, I think.
But then I found that quite interesting because like you can see there's something very similar about that because the Italians would use pasta water, which is a starchy water, and that helps create this sheen and this gloss, and it almost the more you reduce it, it does go creamy, and you can see that that is a very similar thing. We've mixed flour and water together to create a slurry, and we're going to boil and boil and boil and boil. And you can see that there's two very completely different dishes, but they've got a very similar base.
You're right. Yeah, and the funny thing is, the thing I'm realizing is you and I are sitting here excitedly talking about this. I'm excited because I think the lady's name was Vicky. It's Vicky's mom's recipe.
I'm excited because it's over.
Oh, yeah. You think it's over? You think I'm not going to stalk you in a couple months when part 2 comes out? Yeah.
If we'd have done this during, I don't know whether I would have been as excited. I think I'd have been like, hi.
I've already been in conversation with your wife to get you on board for part 2, so you've already signed up. Get ready.
we need to get payment in full for the first.
Yeah. I'll talk to her about that on the side.
We need to have some sort of contract set in stone so that we know what payment is going to be.
Of the chefs that she had on, she didn't have on many. She had on Roy Choi. She had on that, and I want to give you credit because you helped point out that she really didn't recognize that chef Ramon, I think is his name, Velasquez.
Yeah.
And so
there was three chefs, wasn't there? Because I think the last series, I think the lady that was on the last series,
Alice, I believe.
Yeah,
Alice Waters.
I think at some point in her career, I do believe that she was quite a famous chef.
Okay. Of the 3 chefs, was there one whose food you'd most like to eat? Was there one that stood out for you?
I think it was the restaurateur. I think everybody deserves a start in life, and I think that people work extremely hard in hospitality, and I think that a lot of it is underappreciated. And I think that this guy, like, he was very humble. He was very appreciative. You know, you could see that he was a little bit nervous about doing what he was doing, but you could see that he was full of passion and full of happiness. And I think that things like that, they're very noble, and they almost touch you in a way, don't they? Where you just think, you know, you deserve to do well, you know, because you've got a good work ethic, you've got a good mannerism. You're not coming across like you're arrogant. You're not coming across like you're pretentious. You've got a good soul, and it's like I would almost say I'd like to go and have a chat with him, chef to chef, you know, and just communicate with him, or, you know, sit down and eat his food, because I think there was some of the things that they did during that episode. I think he's had some really good ideas, but then you don't know whether those ideas have been stumped or whether he's been restrained in some way from doing what he wanted to do because of the environment that he was in. And I just think that I just thought he'd be a really interesting guy.
Yeah. So you were the one behind the scenes that pointed out, and I mean, I think it's amazing you did that. She kind of talked down to him a little bit and called him local chef a lot, which I found offensive, because once you talked about it, it came on my radar, and then I talked to, you know, the drunk geese about it, the flock, and they started researching the guy, and he's a really good chef. It sounds like he's even maybe Michelin star, I believe, and like it had more than, I believe he has at least 2 places. One's in Montecito. I can't remember the other one, but they listed the names, and I'll do better when I air this. I'll flash on screen the names of his places. I apologize, I can't remember, but regardless, it was weird. It was like she kept talking about elevating this and elevating that, but she couldn't elevate the chef that was right there in front of her.
I think that
I can't imagine.
everything, all of the people that came onto the show, it all seemed to be, I remember Meghan when she was amazing. I remember Meghan when she did this. And it was all like little funny stories about, like, you know, letting people know how amazing their relationship is, or, you know, and it seemed very much like that. Whereas on this occasion, it was like this man couldn't benefit her career. So it was almost like he was neglected in some way. And I found it quite sad.
You're absolutely right. And your wife pointed out that that not only did Meghan not shout him out, that she put up the loopy swoopy writing, so I had to pause to really look at his name to even figure out what it was.
Exactly. But then every single person, there'd be like a little photograph that went up, and there'd be Roy Choi when he was like 9.
Exactly.
But then it was like throughout. But then it was like, again, continuity is really important. It's important to me in the way that I conduct myself in a professional way, but also in a personal way. And it was like, if you're going to do that, it needs to be constant, and it needs to be for everyone. You can't pick and choose the people that you want it to be for.
That's right.
Again, and it's like you have these little arguments in your own head, because you look and you go, well, maybe she's only doing it because she's only got photos of her friends, but then she'd never met Roy Choi before. Roy Choi couldn't even believe that she knew who he was.
Isn't that
but
wild? Yeah.
We managed to get a picture of him when he was young.
Yeah.
So it's almost a double standard.
Yeah.
It's like we'll pick and choose the ones that we want, and we won't really bother with the ones that we don't. But overall, I think that, you know, you look at a series like this, and there must have been so much planning and organization before we actually started filming. And somewhere we've sat down as a group, and there's been some very good people sat around that table, and we've talked about the food that we wanted to create and the kind of atmosphere that we want, and what we wanted people to see. But it just seemed to be so poorly executed.
You're right. I think so too. I think you're spot on. It is wild. I don't understand how that many people that had to have been involved messed it up this bad. I can't make sense of that at all.
No, no.
It's actually
Like,
quite impressive.
let, let's make the film crew a bacon and egg sandwich.
Yes. Everything she did, though, was like I hate the word clap back, but I don't know how else to say it. Clap back to people saying, hey, she's not very nice. She's like, let me make the crew a manwich. That's what she called it. I was just dying of embarrassment. But yeah, you're right. It's just absolute. Yeah.
They all looked extremely happy eating the chicken, didn't they?
Yeah.
They were all very pleased with the chicken. But
Yeah. Please
one
go
of the
ahead.
one of the things that made me laugh about watching it throughout was how excited people got about this food. And whatever was put in front of them, it was like they'd never tasted anything so amazing in all of their lives. And you just look and you go, how are you impressed by that? Yeah, like you boiled spaghetti and boiled with water from a kettle. What made you happy?
She frothed up some cream and added some cinnamon. We've had this.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, it's wild. What's funny to me too is just thinking about it. The two things that and I said this when I recapped it, the two things I most wanted to eat from the show were the fried chicken, Roy Choi's fried chicken, and that lady, again, I think her name was Vicky, her pot stickers.
Yeah.
That's so again, if they wanted to do something with this show, Meghan should have taken a sidestep and let it'd be like me pretending to have a cooking show. I don't have any idea, and you're doing all the work, and I'm like, look how wonderful I am.
It's all about knowledge, isn't it? And knowledge is power. And the more that people can learn, and the more that people can feel confident to step foot into the kitchen and create some really good food and get a really good base for eating well. I think that's brilliant. But to do it in this manner just seemed to be so slapdash that that you couldn't sit there and watch something and go, oh, I wonder what the recipe is for that.
Yes.
Because even like the chicken, you can't recreate that chicken because it was guesswork. And I struggle with things like that from a professional aspect because we don't get the reputations that we've got, and we don't get the acclaim that we've received, and we don't get the footfall of customers eating our food and enjoying our food without being very accurate about what we produce. And that's bred into you. That's something that will never leave me as a chef. And it's like if you're going to make a pickle, there's a recipe for it, and it's almost like we don't want to share it just yet. So we're going to keep you in suspense. But the thing that would get you excited is to actually sit there and be able to write that recipe down. And there is like a little bit of a thrill, isn't there, when you're watching something and you have to pause it and you have to write it down, or you have to keep rewinding it and watching it again because they're saying it so fast that you can't write it down quickly enough.
Yeah.
And there's something nice about it. And then when you actually get to create it, that you're creating it and you're going to get something the same, but you're excited about eating the chicken. There's no way of you eating that chicken. You could guess, you could buy the ingredients and you can go a bit of this, bit of that, but there's no guarantee.
It's not going to be the same. And even if I make a good batch of it, if I go to make it for my friend later, it's not going to be the same thing because I don't know what I'm doing.
No.
Yeah.
But I think we're on the same page. I do think that in whatever time scale it takes, I do think there'll be a cookbook, and I think it'll all be revealed there. And I just hope that people aren't naive enough to buy it.
I know. I agree. Yeah, totally. Yeah, I'm same page. Well, Chef Matt, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. As we go here, maybe this is a good time to go ahead and tell them, have you been elevating every one of your dishes with the mint and dried flowers and a shitload of lemon and everything? Is that what you find yourself doing now?
Absolutely not. I try. It doesn't interest me in the slightest. I think I've watched enough of it now where I think I'll be good for the next couple of years.
Okay. Well, you call yourself a chef and you don't even put dried flowers and everything.
I think it's been overused, hasn't it, and overstimulated, and I like Good luck with her.
So if like a sous chef brings you a lemon, you just start weeping. Is that what happens?
I wonder what the next series will bring. I think that would be an interesting thing, wouldn't it? You could almost do something with all of your flockers where you start doing a poll where you get them to guess like what magical things will we see on the next series.
That's a good idea. Guys, comment below. What do you think? I think Chef Matt has a great idea. What do you think we'll see in the next series? I'm guessing since it was filmed at the same time, more flowers and lemons, more flowers and lemons.
It might have moved on by then. You never know, do you? It might be a completely new thing. It might be like sprinkled with sawdust or...
But how much sawdust? A pinch?
Pinch, just a pinch.
That's right. Well, and as we go here, I do feel like I should address the elephant in the room, and that is that I would normally ask my guests, how can we support you? Where can we find you? But since you're just not helping me at all here, I'm just going to keep you anonymous. So they can't find you, can they, Chef Matt?
No.
It's like Chef Ramon, right? I'm just not going to promote you at all.
That's the way it should be.
That's right. So guys, I did ask Chef Matt if he'd like us to support him on social media or something, and Chef Matt is just gonna say Chef Matt. So again, thank you so much for being here. We appreciate you so very much. We do. I guess, just thanks for being here. And I will be bugging you for part 2 when that comes out. And thank you for everything.
No problem at all. I've really enjoyed it.
Yeah. And I do have to ask you for one final favor. And that is, can you give us a honk honk on the way out?
Honk honk.
Thank you. Thank you so much for watching. Can I just say, isn't he wonderful? I love Chef Matt so much. He really is even nicer behind the scenes, if you can believe that, than you got to see even there. He really is. He's wonderful. A huge, huge thank you to Chef Matt for watching that show, for answering all my stupid questions, for being so great, for being so generous with your time. It really means the world to me. Chef Matt is wonderful. I wish I could promote him, but he doesn't want that. So we're just going to say, thank you, Chef Matt. So if you want to leave him a thanks in the comments, I'll direct his comments. I'll screenshot some of them and send them to him because I don't think he's really on much social media, but I can send them to him and let him know that we love having him on. If you have questions specific for him, leave them in the comments as well, and we'll see if we can get him back here. We'll see if we can figure out a way to bribe him back. But again, I look forward to pestering him when not that there's another season, the second part of the first season comes out. So again, thank you, Chef Matt, for your time, for answering the questions, and for being so lovely. Thank you to Chef Matt family for helping me get this arranged. And thank you to John Witherspoon for helping me come up with some of the questions. I appreciate that so much. You vloggers are amazing. He actually answered even more of our questions. So I may end up turning into a part 2, depending on if you guys want more of this kind of stuff. I'm happy to do that. I can, again, if you have more questions, I can see if he's willing to take any more of our questions. If there's something I didn't talk about that you wanted to see, let me know in the comments, because it may be something that I still have footage of. So just let me know and we'll work it out. But thank you guys so much. Again, thank you, Chef Matt. I appreciate that. But thank you guys so much for everything. You've been so supportive and so wonderful. I saw all of your really funny comments on the yesterday video a lot of you said it was the funniest one I've ever done. Thank you for that. I feel like I lost my mind during that one, but it was fun. And I had a lot of fun doing it. On a funny side note, I was just like joking and being silly, kind of joking, kind of not, about my feelings about polka dots. And whoo, some of you guys took me very seriously. Listen, we can disagree. It's okay. Some of you guys might feel strongly about putting dried flowers on your toast. I, on the other hand, think it's stupid. So that's okay. We can agree to disagree and still be flocking friends, right? So again, welcome to the flock. Chef Matt, I appreciate that so much. I'm so glad to have him. He was so much fun, wasn't he? I really like his sense of humor, and he just really had amazing takes on all of it. I really like how thoughtful he is about, his craft and cooking and food. And yeah, just the antithesis of Meghan, right? He was very thoughtful in all the details, such as the importance of composting and not wasting, whereas Meghan's just like, I'll cut into a little teeny heart shape and throw away the rest. No big deal. Anyway, guys, I'm going to leave this here. Thank you. I can't wait to read your comments on this one. I really can't. I think he's just wonderful. So if you feel like showing him your love, I know he would appreciate that. I would appreciate that. And I'll make sure to send it to his wife so that way she'll forward it to him. Thank you guys for everything. You're lovely. If you want to further support this show, of course, I do have the merch. Everything's fine. You have to say it through gritted teeth like I do. Everything's fine. And of course, we have Patreon, patreon.com/Real Housewives Recaps. Yes, it's my old name, but it's tons of bonus content, tons of fun stuff over there. Be sure to check that out. As always, thank you for being here. I cannot wait to bring you more stuff like this. And you guys are flocking wonderful. So you've been paying attention to see if I say crazy things at the end. Here's my crazy thing at the end. My God, cook the quiche. Cook the quiche. Cook the quiche. She let it be runny and then pretended to like it runny instead of throwing it in the damn oven for a few more minutes. Cook your quiche. Cook your quiche. Cook your quiche. All right. By the way, I'm recording this at 1:00 in the morning. I've been editing all day. It's lots of fun. You know what? I love this. I really do. I love you flockers so much. So it's fine. It's just a lot of people are like, Jen, you need sleep. Yeah, I probably do. I don't care. I'm fine. Thank you guys for everything. Cook your damn quiche. Don't wear polka dots. Friends don't let friends wear pleated front pants. Bye. Oh, good Lord. Oh, I didn't do my Swedish chef. Hold on. Ready? Bort, bort, bort. Oh, Chef Matt, in the off chance that you're watching, I hope you're okay with all the Swedish chef stuff. Bye. John, I don't care if you're not okay with saying the eagle. It's fun to mess with you. Bye.